In my experience, people often see loners as outliers, people who, for some reason, don't mesh well with the rest. They're often seen as having traits or qualities that somehow don't align with the group's norms. There are indeed cases in which this is true. Many people who spend most of their time alone have difficulties mingling with others. In some cases, these people are even hostile toward the world, a hostility that could originate from bad experiences with their fellow human beings. The herd often fears the so-called lone wolf, as this individual is shrouded in mystery, and few know what he's up to. In many cases, being alone gets a bad rep. After all, doesn't much of our happiness and enjoyment come from spending time with others? While that's true, other people can also be a source of significant misery. And if one's experiences with others have been hurtful and traumatizing repeatedly, isn't it to be expected that this individual begins to prefer solitude over company? This video explores the nature of solitude, what philosophers said about it, and why it's better to be alone than wish you were. Imagine waking up alone. You jump out of bed, walk into the kitchen, and open the fridge. Everything in there is yours. The same is true for the rest of your living space. You've arranged everything to your own liking, without making concessions. In your quarters, you can do whatever you like, whenever you wish. And there's nobody you need to take into account. You can do as you please on your own schedule, without considering others' preferences. You're the absolute ruler of your living space, and you cherish this unique, irreplaceable freedom behind closed doors. Solitude is sweet. It's the enjoyment of not having to put up with other people. People who, on the one hand, can enrich our lives in various ways, but on the other, can also be significant sources of pain. Let's face it, in many cases, it's not the work that makes workplaces toxic, it's the people in them. It's not the school itself that makes some kids unhappy. It's the bad teachers and bullies. We humans have a knack for making each other miserable. At the same time, we're also good at bringing each other pleasure, comfort, and happiness. Hence, human interaction is a trade-off. The more we interact, the more we deal with the dark sides of our fellow humans. The more we retreat from humanity, the less we face human toxicity and the stress of dealing with meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly people, as Marcus Aurelius described those he'd encounter daily. It's not surprising that the sage described in the Taoist book, Zhuangzi rejected the position of ruler of a kingdom and chose a solitary life in a shack near the river, where he'd fish and be at peace. Being alone is delicious, and when the joy of aloneness grabs us, it can become addictive. The absence of judging eyes, the peace, the quiet, the freedom. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Arthur Schopenhauer's solitude provides a space where one isn't bound by societal norms or the needs and desires of others. There's no one around telling us what to think or do, and we can run around naked, voice our opinions without restraint, and engage in the weirdest hobbies. No one will care. Yes, it's better to be alone, enjoying one's own company and all the perks of being outside other people's gaze, than wish you were, while suffering their presence. Spending time alone has a profound place in several religious traditions, such as Buddhism. In fact, the Buddha urged people to retreat from social life, and many philosophers also acknowledged the value of solitude. Jean-Jacques Rousseau admitted he was fond of solitude, as it helped him retreat from the animosity of mankind, while enjoying the smile of nature. Henry David Thoreau wrote an entire book about his experiences living alone in the woods. Let's briefly explore some philosophical insights on solitude. The Rhinoceros Sutta, a Buddhist text about a rhinoceros walking alone, profoundly explores the value of solitude. It uses the metaphor of the rhino. It persuades the reader to disentangle from life's many attachments and wander alone, like a rhinoceros. The Sutta makes a strong case for being alone, suggesting that stepping back from a busy social life helps us see things more clearly and grow as individuals. Some takeaways from this ancient text are that avoiding attachments benefits one's spiritual life. For with companionship comes social expectations, which can be a heavy burden. Also, sensual pleasures, though delightful at first, ultimately lead to suffering. People can wear us out, And sensual pleasure, overall, involves a never-ending quest for fulfillment. Too much social interaction keeps us from things that truly benefit us spiritually, such as meditation, self-reflection, and contemplating the teachings. The rhinoceros, in this case, embodies the strong, resilient, solitary animal, enduring life's hardships with equanimity and detachment, having let go of passion, aversion, delusion, having shattered the fetters, undisturbed at the ending of life, walk alone like a rhinoceros. Disentanglement and solitude go hand in hand. When alone, we can distance ourselves from the world, noisy and pressured to conform, and ask, what am I even conforming to? We take rules, customs, traditions, rituals, beliefs, ethics, and values for granted. But why do we even follow them? From a distance, as a spectator of humanity, we may see more clearly what a joke it has been, compared to when we're part of the joke itself. The Taoist sages turned their backs on society and its rigidity. They wanted to return to a purer form, the boundless, the Tao. Solitude was their answer, for it shielded them from outside influences from which they sought liberation. American philosopher Henry David Thoreau also experienced this disentanglement while living alone at Walden Pond, an experiment he documented in Walden. He discovered the pleasure of simplicity, self-sufficiency, and closeness to nature. Think about it. People constantly distract each other. Friends, spouses, co-workers demand our attention daily. Even when we're not interacting, they still exist, in our phones. All this human noise hinders us from connecting with the cradle that gave birth to us, and to which we eventually return. The Great Mother, the silent force, nourishing all. The power of disentanglement in solitude also applies to Nietzsche's approach to life. For Nietzsche, solitude wasn't about spiritual enlightenment or closeness to nature. He saw it as a means of distancing oneself from the herd, contaminated with what he called slave morality. He believed this herd followed a value system that disempowered them, turning them into docile sheep, resenting their shepherds. Nietzsche also criticized the shepherd and their master morality, for both were part of the same system of domination. For him, solitude was a way to transcend the system, to create new, individual values beyond conventional frameworks. In short, solitude allows us to know ourselves, embrace our individuality, and live authentically, on our own terms. So whether it's pursuing enlightenment, deepening our connection with nature, escaping traditional values, or creating individual meaning, solitude is our companion. Is it any surprise, then, that so many long for it? It's better to be alone than wish you were. So we could ask ourselves, do I crave solitude? Do I, as a participant in social life, have a lingering wish to be alone? And why? In my experience, social interaction is always a back and forth. You give some, you get some. But sometimes, you may not want to give what you give, or get what you get. Then, social interaction becomes a burden, costing more than it gives. An intimate relationship can be deeply fulfilling, but it also takes away the freedom of being single, the peace of not having to consider another. A vibrant social life can be exciting, but the more we socialize, the less time we have for meditation or spiritual growth. Being part of a group can provide support and meaning, but it can also compromise our individuality, the very thing Emerson and Nietzsche celebrated. So yes, social interaction has a price, and sometimes that price is just too high. But solitude also has a price, especially when it's excessive and unwanted. Depending on the individual, being cut off from others for too long can be harmful. Loneliness is a growing problem. Some long for connection but struggle to obtain it. So yes, it's better to be alone than wish you were. But it's also better not to be alone than wish you weren't. There's a balance to be found. And in my experience, that balance isn't static. It depends on who I am, my life situation, my needs at any given moment. It requires daily self-reflection, asking, what do I want and need now? I'm not dealing in absolutes. My desire for solitude changes constantly, as does my wish for connection. This ongoing self-inquiry helps me balance aloneness and being with people. The more I stay true to myself, the healthier my relationship with solitude and with others becomes. Being lonely isn't enjoyable. Being surrounded by people while wishing you were alone isn't great either. Changing one's situation takes courage. It takes courage to admit dissatisfaction and step out of the comfort zone. When it comes to solitude, it takes courage to acknowledge the need to step away, even if just for a while, or to admit that the people around you cause more harm than good. Especially in cases of abuse, following the call for solitude, or at least separation, may be the best thing to do. The question is, are you willing and able to walk away? Unfortunately, many people fear being alone. But what's there to fear if food, shelter, and safety are met? If you learn to be comfortable in solitude, you'll cling less to others. They'll have less power over you, and it becomes easier to walk away from abusers, narcissists, and toxic folks. It's better to be alone than wish you were, for in solitude, we find the strength we once thought we needed from others. Thank you for watching.